going on as soon as I can figure out which screen I'm looking at. Yep, there goes that, and here we go. All right. So plan is, grab a worksheet. All right, so plan is for today. If you see here, we're doing lesson 6 from our new unit. There are 2 linked documents. One is a Google Doc, and if it is a Google Doc, that means you are going to complete it and submit it in the traditional fashion of attaching it to a assignment on Canvas. And the other one is a printout, which is currently blue, and you're all holding one. And your name, date, and period are at the top. Okay, so what is lesson 6? Let's take a look. I don't need this, I need this. So we have been introduced to the Internet Simulator, and now we're going to go further in Internet Simulator. Well, let's let our friend explain a little more. Let's go to that. And we're listening. Mice down, keyboards down, please.
Welcome back to the Internet Simulator tool for computer science principles. The tool has changed a little bit from the last time you saw it in order to make certain things easier. Let's take a look at the changes. The widget now lets you enter 1s and 0s instead of A's and B's as before. Last time, you and your partner had to work together so that you didn't set the wire or send at the same time. In this version, we've solved that problem for you. So now, when you hit send, everything you typed in the queue will be sent out at the bit rate you select. It can go a lot faster now. You or your partner don't have to do anything to receive a message. When the message comes in, it will just show up in the received message log. You also no longer have to worry about squashing each other's messages. The wire is now a two-way street. You can both send messages at the same exact time, and each of you will receive the message intended for you. We also have a new slider called chunk size. Chunk size actually does 2 things. The first is that it allows you to clean up your bits to make them more readable. So if you have a protocol that requires 5-bit chunks, you can use the slider to clean it up. To understand the second thing the chunk size slider does, we need to look at something else. You'll notice a checkbox under encodings that says decimal. If you check it, you will see the decimal equivalents of the binary values. Of course, how the binary is interpreted depends on how many bits per chunk you're using. So that's the second thing the chunk size slider does. It defines how many bits will be used to interpret the decimal number. Notice how when you change the slider, the decimal numbers change. Important to note is that if you have extra bits dangling off the end, they will get padded with zeros before sending. You can type numbers in decimal and see their binary equivalent below. You have to put a space between each decimal number you type so the tool knows how many digits to encode in binary. However, be warned, the numbers still respond to the chunk size. So if you type a number that's bigger than the chunk size can handle, it actually overflows, and you get seemingly weird results. Notice that at 4 bits per chunk, 15 is 1111, which is the largest 4-bit number you can make. So 16 causes the 4 bits to overflow, and it rolls over to all zeros. And 17 is 1 bigger than that, so it rolls over to 0001. This is actually how most computers deal with overflow. This is exactly the same behavior we saw with the binary odometer widget. Even as numbers get bigger, there are only so many bits, so once you're at all 1s, it rolls over to zeros and keeps going up from there. So with automatic sending and receiving of messages, and the ability to define your bit chunk sizes and see the decimal values that correspond to them, You're all set to define protocols and send messages composed of numbers. Happy bit sending!
All right, so hopefully one of the sort of overall observations that you make is that as we go through the unit and get different versions of the internet simulator, you'll notice that the parameters change, the limitations change. As we're going now, you don't have to worry about the problems that you did last time with timing and setting the wire and that sort of thing. Those problems have been abstracted out, allowing you to focus on the next issue. This is abstraction, simplifying things, having them work in the background. The challenge for today is, well, you're going to get the worksheet from the calendar spreadsheet, and the challenge is for you to send a simple line drawing only using the current setup of the internet simulator. Okay, so this is, like I said, or the video said, 2 ways, meaning you put in send, send whatever number, it shows up to the other person. They could do it at the same time. There's no issue with coordinating a clock. But the key is protocol. You need to come up with a set of rules that will allow you to transmit your drawing. You can see from the blue worksheet, did I already close it? The blue worksheet that you have, that there are 3 different size grids, 1 on each side, or rather 3 on each side. The key is about bits per chunk. In this case, you need to agree upon a protocol that will allow for numbers that are big enough to handle whatever your drawing would be. Okay. You also need to solve for how you would, how you are actually going to interpret numbers coming through. Okay, because you can only send numbers. You can't send this shape. You can't type out star shape of this size. You're probably going to want to use some sort of coordinate system. Like the first number that comes through is the X coordinate of the first dot. The second number is the Y coordinate of the first dot. The third coordinate is the X of the second dot. And the fourth number is the Y of the second dot, or something like that. You also need to, in your protocol, your set of rules, okay, what's the format? How big is your chunk size? And how do you know, well, these are sort of tied together. But the key is that you are, well, pretty sure it's obvious. You're working with a partner, either 1 or 2 partners. If you are in a trio, only 2 of you need to be on a computer. And the point of this is, can you come up with a system where just by sending numbers, your drawing can be interpreted and received exactly as you drew it? So once you come up with a good set of rules, one of you, well, you each are going to draw 3 different line drawings, convert those points into, and you can do this whole thing in decimal, as long as you have a large enough chunk size. If you do leave it just in binary, there are ways to use bits differently to save space, but don't worry about it. You can do the whole thing in decimal if you want to. And your drawing, you convert into a series of decimal numbers and transmit them. The receiver will write down the numbers as they come through. Okay, the second side is for receiving your partner's drawings. Write down the numbers as they come through and then interpret those numbers as needed so that you can see whether or not you are able to successfully transmit the shape. Okay, any questions? Okay, there's the worksheet. Blue sheet is support with the Google Doc that's right here. Okay, so you need to open up that. Go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and open up the Google Doc, make a copy, put your name at the beginning, open up code, join the Internet Simulator for lesson 6. You have to join the lesson 6 Internet Simulator. That's how they get you. Okay, and figure out your partner and join up and get going. Go.